This is Manfred, who spent pretty much his whole life in a puppy mill. And as a result, he has some separation anxiety now that he's in a regular home. And in this video, we're going to go over tips and tricks that you can use if you have a dog that suffers from separation anxiety. Now, in my experience, what I found with a lot of dogs that suffer from separation anxiety, it's because they go from 100% access to 0. I'm with my humans 24/7. He doesn't follow them to the bathroom, but he follows them to the bathroom, he doesn't get to go inside. Most of my clients, they let the dog go inside too. But when the guardians get up and walk around, a lot of times he will follow them. Not all the time, but a lot of the time. And so basically, when he was at the puppy mill, he was in a pen with some other dogs, correct?
Well, we're
By
not
himself.
sure.
Oh, he was by himself. Okay. So, he's probably thirsted. I mean, at this point, he's 9?
9.5.
He's 9.5. So he spent most of his life separated. So now he's got some people. He's like, I'm definitely not letting me out of my sight because I spent most of my life without people. And so it's very natural. Dogs are very social creatures, and so they really thrive and they thirst for that. And so in my experience, we're with the dog 24/7, and then we leave the house, and they go from 100% access to us to 0. And there's nothing in between. And that's too much for the dog to absorb. So what I have found, I'm going to go through a lot of different tips and tricks for separation anxiety. What I found is teaching a dog to stay is a great way to help the dog practice staying alone in the room. So instead of being 100 to 0, the humans are in the kitchen, and I'm asked to stay right here. I know they're 10 feet away. I can hear them on the other side. I can smell them, but I can't see them. And because of that, hey Manfred, the dog practices somewhere in between that 100 to 0. And the idea is to help the dog practice for progressively longer periods of time. Come, that's a little passive training right there. Now, when most people teach dogs to stay, they teach it in an inappropriate way. It's actually the way that I was taught, and it's not the best way to do it because you're trying to teach your dog to stay for 3 different capacities. When I teach to stay now, I teach it for first duration, then for distance, then with distractions. So I want to teach the dog in the easiest capacity possible. We're going to start off with a stay for duration. Manfred, let's position you around so everybody can see how handsome you are at home. All right, now I have all the treats in my right hand. I'm going to give him my hand signals with my left hand. So what I'm going to do is put all the treats behind my hand, behind my back, but I'm holding it like this so I can pop it in his mouth as soon as I'm ready to. I don't want to fumble when I get to it. Timing is really important. Manfred, stay. Stay. Remember, anytime you give a treat, they should hear the command word after the treat goes in the mouth. That was a 3-second stay. Manfred. Sit. Stay. Stay. Now what I'm doing is I put my hand halfway distance between me and the dog and I say stay as a hand signal and I put it back to my breast and now I'm going to count to 9 in my head. Now that's a good example of that was too far. So if the dog gets up and starts moving around, that means you pushed too far too fast. My dog Quest, I had to do about 2 weeks of 1-second stays. Because anytime I went to 2 seconds, he would get up and look for something. Why are you not I can smell you have a handful of treats. Why are you not giving them to me? Well, because you're not doing what I want. Manfred. Sit. Stay. Stay. That was 4 seconds. Stay. Stay. 6 seconds. Now, if you're noticing he's not looking at me the whole time, that's okay, because eventually I'm going to leave the room. Stay. Stay. 8 seconds. So now I need to come up with my release word. But before I go to the release word, the book says all the dog has to do is stay in the area. I prefer if I put the dog in a sit-stay, for me as a professional, I want the dog to stay in a sit-stay. For him, if you notice the dog always goes to a down, just start with the down. Start with whatever he likes in the easiest capacity possible. All right, so we did several of them. When you do this, you want to practice about 8 or 10 iterations. And at the end, we want to let him know we're done playing stay. We're done with the stay practice. So I'm going to come up with the command word of parole. The guardians might change it later on because I like using fun command words. To teach the dog that means we're done is I'm going to do this. Parole. I threw it just outside his reach, and then when he licks it up, he hears the word parole. So parole means the end of stay. Now, most people actually teach their dog a wait versus a stay. A wait means wait here until you hear the next command. It might be sit, come, lay down, roll over, whatever. Stay means stay until you hear one command and one command only, in this case, parole, or if you guys change it to something else. So the idea is I practice 6 times, 12 times, 18 times, however many times, 18 is probably too much. And then the very last thing before we do it, we throw the last treat to the side, the dog goes and gets the treat, and we say the word parole, or release, or freedom, or whatever it is. So we want to keep on going by short iterations until I can get him to sit and stay or lay down and stay for 5 minutes. Before I start going on to duration or distance, I first have duration. And for dogs, it's really hard. Why are you not giving me the treat? I'm just sitting here. What do you want me to do? Nothing. I want you to sit there and stay. That's hard for dogs to do. So once I can get up to the point where the dog can stay for 5 minutes, and don't do it just here. Dogs don't generalize well. We need to do these things in different locations. So sometimes do it sitting at the chair by your door. Sometimes sit by a chair by the garage. Sometimes sit on like that couch, that couch, upstairs, downstairs. So he practices this all over the place. Now, when you're doing this, you want to keep dog training sessions to 90 seconds or less, but obviously we're going to get up to 5 minutes. Now, at first you might go 4, 8, 12, 16, whatever iterations up, 5, 10, 15, 20. And each time you want to try to make it a little bit longer, but only 1 or 2 seconds longer. Going from 4 seconds to 5 seconds. The idea, and let's say I go from 5, 10, 15, and I go, okay, next time I'm going to go 7, 14, 21, and I go from 7 and I get to 12, and he gets up and walks away. That's too much. So next time I would back up, instead of doing 7, I would do maybe 6 or 5 or 4, whatever number was preceding the dog getting up and moving away. So the idea is to go at the dog's pace. You want to practice this multiple times throughout the day in very short sessions. Now, when you get to the point where you're working up towards 5 minutes, you're going to have at one point a 4-minute stay. Well, it's longer than that 90 seconds I mentioned. That's okay for this type of exercise. Once you can get up to the point where you're at 5 minutes, the next step is we're going to put him in a stay, and we're going to take 1 step back, come back to him, give him a treat, and say stay. Then I take 2 steps back. What I start off with is if I take 2 steps back, I would count to 4 once I got 2 steps away. Then I come back the 2 steps and give him the treat. That's just my starting point. If I back up 3 steps, I would count to 6. But that's just where I start. Every dog is going to be unique. Go at the dog's pace, not at our pace. And if you get frustrated at any stage of this, end the exercise, or if he gets frustrated, we want this to be a fun activity that he enjoys doing. If you get frustrated or he's not performing well, you probably pushed a little bit too far too fast, or you're asking for more than he's able to do. This needs to be a fun, pleasant experience for him, not exasperated. Once we get up to the point where, let's say, and I'm going to move around a little bit, let's say that right here where this fan is, let's say the wall actually came to here. I'm going to use this so you can see what I'm doing. Sit. Stay. 1, 2, let's say I was at 3, and let's say the wall is right here so you can't see. Then I take a step here. Now the dog can't see me. I come back. Stay. So I don't want to start moving out of his sight until I'm at least 15 feet away with him staying for 15 before I start moving out of his eyesight. Because you just saw that even though I wasn't actually out of his sight, but we call this Velcro dog. The dog wants to be with us at all times. Now we're incorporating distance. This is much more difficult for the dog. So keep on doing this until you get about 15 feet away and he stays there and doesn't try to get up. Then we step out of the sight for 1 second, come right back, go and give him the treat. Next time I maybe step out 1, 2, and then I come and give him the treat. I feel like I'm dancing when I'm counting 1, 2. Waltz. But the idea is you keep on elongating the period of time that you're outside of his sight until you can get up to the point where you're at 5 minutes or longer. Now at this point, we want to put him in a stay over here and then come over here and watch a little TV. Put him in a stay and go to the bathroom. Put him in a stay and go get a drink of water. Put him in a stay and go fold some clothes. Go and put him in a stay and go change your clothes. The idea is to make it very progressively a little bit longer and longer, but incorporating with your day-to-day routine so that you're practicing helping him stay being alone while you're in the house. So we, again, are practicing in between that 0 and 100% range. Now, one of the things that Guardian mentions is he likes to race up and down the stairs ahead of them. So this would be another great opportunity to stay. Stay and then walk. Now when you're doing this, I would probably, because he might come towards you. Now if he does that, it means you need to go back for duration first. If you do it for up to 5 minutes, you should be able to put him at the stay at the bottom of the stairs, turn around and walk to the top of the stairs, and then you say, come. Comes to you, make him sit by raising over his head. Come. Now, so he's going to be a sit, stay down there, and then maybe actually that would be a wait the way I described it. So he's a stay, then he would say parole, and then come. So always release him first, then he comes up the stairs. For dogs, whoever's in front is perceived to be a leader. Dogs who have separation anxiety, we really want them to practice being in the follower position. That's why I told the guardians not to walk around him. If he were standing, I would walk through him, asking him to get out of my way versus the other way around. Okay, so once we can get up for duration and then for distance, then we want to do it for distraction. Maybe we practice stay right here. The front door is right there. Maybe we do it when kids are walking home from school. So now there's distractions outside, but I have to sit here and stay. Again, we're going to put the dog in position to succeed by helping him practice in progressively harder and harder scenarios until he can do it successfully on his own for any situation. Sit, sit. Now, dogs also have a lot of, that suffer from separation anxiety, down or chill, suffer from what we call triggers. Dogs recognize, and we talked a little bit earlier, I have a tagline, everything you do trains your dog, and sometimes you mean it, because they're watching us all the time. And so as we are getting ready to leave the house, they see the ritual that we go through before we leave. She sits down here and she puts her shoes on. She goes over here and she picks up her car keys and makes a sound. She goes over there and picks up her sunglasses. She grabs her purse. And then she turns the lights off, and then she leaves. That's a ritual. We repeat that same thing over and over. We're not even aware of the fact that we're doing it. So the dog sees, oh, she's putting her shoes on there. That means she's going to leave, and she's going to leave soon. Oh, she picked up her keys. Oh, she's going to leave me. And by the time the person actually leaves, the dog has got himself all worked up, thinking, oh my God, I'm about to be left. So if your dog gets freaked out by picking up the keys, what I would do is just leave the keys out, and every once in a while, put them down and sit down. Or just pick them back up and put them down. And just keep repeating that over and over again until we desensitize and break the association. Now also, if you do go through all those things, maybe instead of putting your shoes on here, put them in your bedroom. Or put them in the bathroom. Or put them on a different location. We want to try to break those associations because a lot of times these dogs get themselves all worked up, and by the time you leave, they're in a frenzy. Just like if you get two people in an argument, and one of them starts arguing with the other, and then you come in the argument 2 minutes later, and people that they've been arguing, they're like really vehemently aggressive towards each other. Or if you catch them and go, can you believe what happened in Washington today? And you're saying, guys, we're not talking politics. Okay, they can let it go because you're not invested. So just like that for dogs, if you can catch the dog when he's just starting to get amped up and redirect him with a targeting exercise or a focus exercise or something else, or we help him practice. Oh, she's like, oh no, she's put it back down. Oh, she's like, oh. Now she just picks her keys up and puts them back down. It doesn't associate with that. So we want to create all those different associations and make sure that we're removing those. Now also, we want to make sure that we're properly exercising the dog before we practice leaving. And a lot of people, I find, they don't exercise their dog properly and then they leave, and now the dog's got all this excess energy. Now, I was talking to the guardians off camera. I wonder if he has a heart issue because of the way that he's breathing heavy at times where could be a little bit stressful, but he hasn't had a full. He had a good exam, but he probably like to look at his heart a little bit. If he's really taxed and we don't want to exercise him physically, we might do some more mental exercises, making him look for treats or restrain himself before he can get the treat that's on the ground with a leave it exercise or something along those lines. That's the way we can mentally challenge him without overtaxing his heart. But properly exercising your dog before we're going to leave or practice things helps put the dog in a position to succeed. Now, when we leave, we don't want to make a big deal out of it. A lot of people are, you're going to be okay, Manfred? I'm sorry, buddy. I got to go. I'm going to shop, but I'm going to shop as quick as I can. I'm going to get back. You are such a good dog. You hang in there. Can you make it for me while I'm gone? We make it into such this big deal, and we make a big production of us leaving. When you leave, you should just leave. Don't say goodbye, pick up your keys, and walk out the door. Make it a very quick, precise deal. When you come home, if your dog is all jumping up when we pet our dog, anything our dog is doing when we pet him is what we're reinforcing. So if your dog is all excited when you come home, you're petting your dog, which is making him slightly more excited, but also the dog is like, oh, you coming home? Oh yeah, you saved me. I was just at the end of my rope. I can't handle it. We want to make it a non-event when we come and go because it's not a big deal. And so the idea is the dog just learns to be calm and relaxed and in balance when we're coming or going. And again, they've helped me practice staying. Sometimes they put me in a stay and he goes downstairs and plays with his trains for an hour. And I come back and I get released. Well, the more that we ask the dog to wait for permission to eat food and waiting in a bowl, or wait for permission to go down the stairs or out the door or whatever it is, the more of these things that we do, the more that the dog practices sit, control. And that's what we want the dog to do, is learn to develop some self-control. Now, the other thing is, one of the guardians here used to be a dog trainer. And so a great thing to do with dogs that have separation anxiety, it's essentially a panic attack. And if the dog ever has an accident, it's not doing it intentionally. It's like being so scared you peed your pants. You would never make fun of your friend if he was legitimately that scared to pee their pants. Well, I might, but I'm a bad person. But no, I mean, you would be kind and sympathetic, and you wouldn't make a big deal out of that. And I see people that are, and the guardians here are not doing this, but I get a lot of other people watch my videos, and they punish the dog for having an accident. He's literally losing control of his bowels. It's not intentional. It's 100% the opposite of intention. So never get upset if your dog chews things up. That means that they're stressed. When dogs get stressed, they chew things to try to soothe themselves. Sometimes they dig to try to escape or get through something. And usually it's around a doorway. And so if your dog does any of those things, it's not doing it to piss you off. I promise you, dogs are not that sophisticated. They don't do those things intentionally. It's because I'm going to try to get... a lot of dogs with separation anxiety, I have to be with one specific person, or I just can't be alone. In his case, it's probably more of I can't be alone, but there are times where he gravitates towards one of the guardians versus the other. Sit. Sit. And so if the guardians can teach him some new tricks and commands, because self-esteem is a big component for separation anxiety. Dogs are more confident, typically suffer from self-esteem far less. Now, training and behavior are different. Chill. But the more skills that I learn, the more of a self-esteem boost and confidence boost I get. And I feel more confident and assertive in my general life, even though what I learned had nothing to do with something else in my life. It's just an overall boost. So one of the things I like the guardians to do is teach him. He seems to also be very, very smart, which would make it easy and beneficial. So maybe each week the guardians take turns teaching him a new trick or command. So maybe Guardian A teaches him how to roll over, and next week, and so she teaches them how to do it. Go to YouTube. All these trainers want to have a TV show. They'll show you how to do all the ins and outs. So teach the dog how to do it, and then teach the other guardian what the command word is and how to do it. And all week long, practice rollover, rollover, rollover for everything. At the end of the week, you should be a master at rollover. Next week, the next guardian teaches bang your dead, and you should teach rollover and bang your dead together. Those are kind of similar in the way that you teach them. And so now, bang your dead all week long, or practicing bang your dead. If we each one of us do this for 4 weeks, now at the end of 8 weeks, the dog has now 8 new tricks or commands. Those are 8 new ways to redirect the dog's attention if he starts getting worked up about something. It also is going to be a wonderful self-esteem boost for him. And it's going to help him bond even closer with the guardians he lives with now, even though he has a really tight relationship with them. But just the guardians here are teachers, and as a mentor, you influence the lives of others, and you become an important person into that person's life because you help them through a period of time, or you help them develop a skill set, or whatever it is. Dogs can do the same sort of thing for humans. So if the humans are teaching, yes, I know I have treats here, you're going to get some more. But if the guardians teach him a leave it exercise, I actually jumped to step number 2. Normally we just hold our hand in front of the dog's treat, but there's a video for teaching how to do this. What I'm doing is I'm waiting for him to back off this. As soon as he backs off it, I'm going to give him the treat out of this hand. I never give him the treat that I dropped. But he's trying to take the treat. There we go. Leave it. No, he's going for more. And then I pick this object up. But that's, maybe you didn't get it. I'll let you have a couple, because you're an old guy and you survived a puppy mill and you deserve treats anyways. But that's another exercise that's wonderful at controlling myself. I can see the treat. It's right there. There's nothing blocking me other than my self-control. That will also have a payoff on self-esteem, as well as practicing controlling himself when it comes to separation anxiety. Well, let's turn around, buddy, because you're such a handsome dog. I want everybody to see who you are. There you go. Well, this is Manfred, if we get him turned around. And these are some tips and tricks you can use if you have a dog that suffers from separation anxiety.